Woohoo! This is Math 75, and this is video number 2 talking about why the Dow Jones Industrial Average isn't a normal average. Because when you add up all of the different stock prices, you don't just divide by 30 to get the Dow Jones Industrial Average, you divide by something close to 0.15. So, what the heck is happening there? Well, we're going to start with imagining two stocks. I've got stock A is $20 per share, and stock B is $30 per share. And so if I want a plain old average, the average of the two, obviously I'm simplifying this rather than doing 30 like the Dow Jones, I do two. So this is the Catherine special industrial average. I'm going to take 20 plus 30, that's 50, divide by 2, and I get an average of $25, which makes sense. That's halfway between the two prices. So that's, easy peasy. So, but what happens if we get something called a split? So, if stock B splits into two shares, it means that each share is now worth half as much as the original share, which a lot of people scratch their head at. But for example, one thing you can do is if the price of your stock is getting really high, and you don't want it to be that high, you think that for some reason, for a psychological reason, people are going to be turned off buying the stock because it's too expensive, or because you want to, let's be honest, show off, then you let your stock split. And that means that when, if originally you had 10 shares of stock B, which are worth $30 each, you'd now own 20 shares, twice as much of stock B, worth $15 each. The important thing to keep in mind is you don't have any extra value. 10 shares at 30 is 300. 20 shares at 15, also $300. So the value of the stock hasn't changed. It's just how you describe it. The problem is if you just look at an average of the $20 per share and now the new $15 per share, you do 20 plus 15 divided by 2, because there are two stocks, and suddenly our Catherine special industrial average is down to 1750. Now, if you went from $25 for your average to 1750, that's like losing between 25 and 33% of your value. That's bad. That would look like, the whole country is crashing. What's going on? We don't want to do that, because in fact, nothing has changed between here and here, except that stock B now has a new way of looking at itself. There are twice as many shares worth half as much. So in order to make the average work out, we're going to do something that is unexpected. We're not going to divide by 2 anymore. We're going to say, well, okay, we got the price of A was 20. The price of B is 15. I want to divide that by some magical number so that we get the same average that we had in the beginning. I want to get $25. So I go through some not too complicated algebra, which I'm happy to show you. I just didn't write it out because I ran out of room. And it turns out that that number is 1.4. If I add 20 plus 15 and then divide that sum by 1.4, I get $25. Now, what does 1.4 mean? Well, it means that before I had two stocks, and now I have this idea that one of the stocks that I'm adding is not quite a full stock. So I'm dividing by less because it represents less. Now, we could have a big argument about whether this actually works, or whether it maybe overemphasizes stock A while underemphasizing stock B. We could have a lot of interesting conversations. But the Dow doesn't have these. Basically, this is basically what has happened, but it's happened a lot and it's happened over many years. And so they've ended up with their divisor being approximately 0.15 as of October 15th, 2020. And so that's the divisor we use now. And that's where the valuation comes from. Woohoo! I hope that made sense. If it didn't, please keep asking me questions and I will keep doing my best to answer them. Take care, math on, woohoo!